right, so next up, I gave the intro a little bit prematurely on the last one, but this is probably the first crypto game I played where it drew me in. I was genuinely interested. I genuinely want to figure it out. I genuinely wanted to win. Money aside. Everyone, please give up a little bit of a hand for the VBA team. I believe you have Charles. Come on in.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey.
Office. So maybe you get some cameos from folks who are on the team as well.
Hey, that would be a joy. So let's get this thing started, shall we? So MJ is not going to be joining us today, will he?
I have no idea. I didn't even talk to him about this.
Oh, he told me to talk to you, so I guess not.
MJ Gaming?
Yeah.
He never. I never talked to him once about this, so maybe he's not showing up.
Okay. You know what? Hey, you are more than enough, so this almost works out.
Is Prospect coming or no?
No, I do not believe Prospect is coming.
Okay. Then it's just us three, perhaps. That I think John Lee is in the office, so he'll come up and say hi as well.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's get intimate. So, phrasing, not good on that one. So, Charles, in as few words as possible, what is the VBA?
The VBA is a basketball strategy game that combines our favorite parts of like basketball manager games as well as like fantasy sports.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
hey,
so
it's McGeeski.
Oh. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I just want to say, you guys have given me a route to beat some of the smartest people in crypto in something, and that's a big thing for me. Steve's team, I still haven't beat, but hopefully one day.
You'll get there. I was talking to Steve and Derek about like their lineups, so I've given them at least how I think about my team at the very least as insight.
Okay, that makes sense. So one of the first questions I think anyone who's going to be looking to get involved in a crypto game is going to ask, how am I going to be rewarded for being one of the first early adopters? Is there anything in the roadmap that you'd feel comfortable sharing along those lines?
So this is something
we got.
Yo,
Sorry,
what's up, Zach?
Totally interrupted there.
No, it's all good. It's good to meet you. Good to meet you, Zach. I feel like I've seen you in a lot of emails, but I've actually never seen you face to face.
It's good to meet you too. I know Jack was like, "Have you met Charles?" I was like, "Nah," but we swapped a bunch of emails.
Yeah, I see you on the people see emails all the time.
That's how it goes. Yeah.
I think the biggest source of value, I think the traditional way of thinking about like NFTs is if I'm early, I buy into this thing and the value of my NFT like should go up over time effectively, right? And I think that the problem with that kind of thinking is that it actually discourages new users from ever entering the ecosystem, because what they start to believe then is I'm already too late. Like I've already missed the pump. I'm just going to lose money by investing in this thing. And so it's actually really non-user friendly to have a model that's set up that way. So realistically, there is some advantage of joining VBA early, which is like, you get to be a part of the early community. You get to see how the sausage is made from basically like scratch on when a product is built. And then what we're saying is like, you'll earn ROI on your assets by playing in the game, right? So you can earn dimes and then use those dimes to get more players, to get player packs. And then you can also enter paid contests in which like you could actually earn cash on top of your players. And so we feel that the value add of being early is through those things, which is what the game will be like in the future as we grow. But that way it doesn't really alienate like potential new users from joining the ecosystem as well.
So that process you just mentioned right there is probably one of the reasons why I love the VBA so much. You guys seem to put a very special focus on abstracting away from the financial aspects without like disregarding it entirely.
Yeah.
It's a hard line to balance.
And we're still working on that every day, actually. Like we get user feedback from the community all the time about like, I'm not earning enough, or when is there going to be a token and things like that. And I think it's been like an exercise in discipline for us to just hold the line and say like, this is how we think that like the quote unquote earn mechanics should work in the VBA. And like, we're going to keep building towards that vision until I guess proven otherwise.
That's the way to go. Zach, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the success you've had with your team as a user?
I feel like you're just teeing me up here to say that it's due to you. But
Is this internet game, by the way, what you're playing right now? How do I get in with my? I went and bought one of those tokens for this.
Did you get an S2 ticket or a game token?
Oh,
did the tired guy hop out?
Yeah. You mean the internet game god?
Yes, internet game god tired. That guy was legit.
I have S2 ticket. I have S2 ticket 1815. Is that what I need to play?
Yes. So if you go into the private chat, I dropped the link for it. If you want to get ready, we'll fire you up right after I finish here.
And what do? I just stream what I'm doing.
Yeah. And then Ronan will get the screen onto our lovely live stream.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so how do I do this?
Yeah, who's playing right now? Who's on the screen share?
This is me.
Oh, that's you, Jack.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Team Zeros has had pretty solid success. Dude, I actually just logged in. I hadn't seen our scores for the last probably day and a half, and we finished the week pretty strong. We got second place in the competitive league. We still haven't made the jump into the pay to play yet. I think we have to see a few more top 5 finishes in the competitive league because we were stuck in intermediate for a while. I don't know what the algorithm was doing, but like we were below the 1650 watermark, and then we kept finishing like 500. If you finish 500, I think you almost even go down in rating points on a week-to-week basis. Then 2 weeks ago, finally had put a good week together, and then made it to the competitive league, and then we had a great week last week. I think we were 8-6, but that was good enough for second place. So I'm excited. Then. Yeah, it was just super competitive league we had last. Like every single team was within 1 or 2 games or 500.
And they're all changing their lineup every day. What I've seen is like the people who play competitive are coming in and changing their lineup like 2 times a day for every single game. And
yeah,
that's what I think like mid-rank intermediate, it's more like set it and forget it type of users.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I think also my players just got hot. Me and Jack were tinkering with the lineup a bunch, and once we picked up a pass first guard, and that was a bit of an unlock for the team. Our points per game went way up. So we have a pass first guard in the point guard position, and then we have a pure shooter who splashes, shoots from like 50, shoots higher than 50% from 3, and he makes like probably 4 or 5 threes a game. He's in the upper echelon of pure shooters, and those two are kind of a lethal tandem.
Yes, I've been saying this to everybody. Every single stream I hop on, I say that my favorite play style is the pass first guard.
Yeah,
I don't know if they did like a stat analysis on this, where it's like how many extra points per game a pass first guard adds, but it's actually like a decent amount of points because they just if you it improves like the shot percentage by a significant amount.
Yeah, Jack, you had that like pivot table or checkerboard analysis deal from whatever that guy's name is that showed your winning percentage based on how many pass first archetypes you had. And like if you were 2+ versus a team that had none, the chance you're winning went up by like 50 or 60%, some huge amount.
Yeah, right here. I believe.
Yeah, there you go. There's the matrix.
Provided by Crypto Bro Dro.
Yes, Crypto Bro Joe's the guy.
Yeah, Crypto Bro Joe. By the way, if you want to know how my summer was, check it out.
This is sweet.
Got a full spreadsheet ready to go. I thought we were going to release it maybe one day. Send in the old Google Drive.
This is sweet. This is one of those things where like I'm like a total basketball stat nerd. Like I grew up like loving this type of stuff. And so I think the first version that everybody is seeing right now is like this. Something that we talk about a lot on the team is the number of people who want to spend time in a spreadsheet analyzing basketball stats for like a crypto game is probably not a lot. And so it's how can we find ways to make the game more accessible for people who are just like general basketball fans, where they can still figure out how to use it and then still have fun competing for money in games, right? Having that like the advantage of this, for example, over fantasy sports, right, is that you can bet on your team anytime, right? Because they're all fictional and you don't have to rely on like the real life NBA schedule, for example. But so we need reduce that barrier of understanding the rules so that it feels as casual as fantasy, while still having that inherent advantage. Hopefully, is sort of like the state that we want to move towards.
So this is actually a perfect segue, and you already kind of captured a little bit in that last answer. But 2030, where do you see the VBA in a perfect world?
Oh wow. I see it as like talked about as fantasy basketball is. That's my hope for it. Like, is to be as popular and as like as interesting to users as like fantasy basketball is today.
And I can almost see how you're building that already, by building some of the I don't want to say gambling mechanics. I think that might be.
Well, we're skill based. I think we want to make. I think we're really holding the line on like a skill based game. And if you can kind of tell, right? Because
Yeah,
up until a certain point, until you reach like the max salary cap, it's less skill based, right? Because it's just more money based. But then once you start to get into the competitive level where people have the max salary cap every single week, there is some skill in saying like, okay, like my opponent has these 10 play styles. They're likely not going to be able to counter this type of lineup. So I'm going to play this sort of composition to beat them. Right. Not to say that like I have the best. So for example, like I think after this week, my team is the best team again. And I certainly don't have the best every single player. But like everybody in my league has like 18,000 salary cap. They all have like legendary and elite players. But there's still some skill in being like, okay, I can kind of predict what they're going to play and figure out like what's the right matchup to win.
The watchability of these games is absolutely insane. I don't know if you've seen some of my live stream that I did on the YouTube. Do you purposely make these games like really get down to the wire, or is that like all kind of automated?
That's all automated. That's all automated. Yeah. So none of that is like coded in. We had, for what it's worth, in the early days of thinking about it, it was like, you know, let's talk about Zed Run for a little bit. I think like Zed, the horse racing game, for folks who don't know what that is, it's like an ETH-based horse racing game where you have horses that race for prize pools. And I remember reading an article somewhere that those are like intentionally like come from behind wins. I don't know if that's actually true or not. But I read somewhere that was the case, and I understand why that makes sense, right? Is it makes it more interesting for you to watch the whole thing because there's a come from behind element. And we were like, okay, that would be really cool for like, but obviously basketball as well, right? Because people love that sort of comeback element to it. But we haven't encoded anything to create that artificially. So if you're like seeing comebacks or like tight games down to the wire, that's just how like the game engine was created.
Okay. Hell yeah. All right. So would you feel comfortable? Is your game ready to play by any chance?
Yeah, you guys might need to walk me through this, but I can share.
All right, let's hop on.
Yeah, I'm trying to get mine set up, but my MetaMask pop-up notification is just spinning.
Stuck. Well, yeah, Charles, if you share that screen one more time, and whenever you're ready, I can throw it up. Just give me that green light to share your screen.
You're good now, I think.
Alrighty, and then yeah, you can just rip it right now. I can walk you through just some of the simple mechanics how to play. But
how do I hide my bookmarks bar? Here,
do you want me to just? I can just take your screen off stream until you're ready as well.
No, we're good. So I just hit play now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my ranking is pretty bad, but I guess that's
that's not you. That's not you.
We got to get points on the board, and then we're in.
Then we can see what's really good.
You know, actually, this is cool because the first crypto project that I worked on prior to starting VBA was like a Squid Game clone type of project where we just did like tokens and then like mini games. So it's just kind of cool to see like the fully built out version of this, whereas like we did that over like a 2-day like sprint.
Oh, yeah. Chris and the team did like a kick-ass job with this too. There's a G Money show that's coming along.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no, it's okay. We can handle the... You want to just mute the screen?
He got it. He did it.
Okay.
Did I mute it?
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, you did. Perfect.
Okay, so how do I do this?
So you go left, right arrows, and there's no up and down, and you just got to avoid the red monster.
Oh, there's no up and down.
No up and down. Hey, Jack, how do you think we're getting audio?
Yeah.
How do I cancel this audio?
Oh, you can mute a site.
If you just hit the volume button in the top right.
Wait, how do I do this?
Oh, you're on
Wait,
Chrome.
audio?
So it's different on Chrome,
My
I'm realizing.
Lagging so hard I can't even play.
I don't know how to do it.
This sucks.
So usually we can mute your audio. We'll send a message in with some of the founders because that might be fun. But I think we're just gonna need to power through it. But it works out because this next section here is the game within the game. So you're gonna be playing internet game, but the second game on top of that is how do I answer these questions while still playing internet game?
Yeah,
As you're seeing right now.
I'm terrible at
So-
that. How do I?
Charles, you're gonna right click on the tab and then
Yeah.
mute site 5 down. Perfect.
Oh, there we go. That's a game changer. Okay.
Okay, money.
Shout out Gary in chat.
Okay, so if anyone here watching on YouTube, watching on Twitter, watching on Twitch has any questions, drop them down below. But in the meantime, in the last cycle, Charles, we saw many games go up and we saw even more go down. When you're thinking about buying into a crypto game, what red flags are you looking for?
The two things that we've been pretty strong holders on are we don't want to release a token too early, and we don't want to have a breeding mechanism. And so I think those are the two red flags I look for. Is when I see the breeding mechanism, I generally think this is really good for growth, right? Because it's inherently like user aligned and incentive aligned to basically make NFTs and sell them and get new users in the ecosystem. The challenge with that is that at some point you can't keep finding two people to buy the one thing that you make. And so I think that causes problems long term, but it's very good for short term, obviously. And then token is I think a lot of the advice that we've heard from like other builders in the space is that very rarely do projects like release a token too late, but are oftentimes releasing a token too early. And I think once you release a token too early, it's hard to take it back, especially without like the right requisite like syncs for users to actually use that token on. And so those are the two things that like I would be careful about personally when investing in like a game project.
Okay. Follow-up question. Kind of related to the token aspect. What opportunities do you see in crypto gaming from a near-term and far-term perspective? Sorry, short-term, long-term.
Oh no! Sorry.
It's all good. You got a minute 27, so I'll just keep pushing through on this one.
Oh, it's a time thing. I just had this thing just sitting there for so long.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there was time involved in this thing.
And I just dropped the lowest score. This is what you're getting. Sorry, aiming to be above.
Okay, well now I'm just trying to focus on this thing until the end of it.
Yeah. And that's what makes the game fun. Or I'll say this: do you have any hot takes with crypto gaming?
Do I have any hot takes on crypto gaming?
Yeah. Or just hot takes about crypto in general.
Yes. Okay. All right, I'm struggling to focus on both of these things at once. Just terrible at multitasking, I guess. Do I have any hot takes on crypto at all? I'll say this is that I know I have a lot of PFPs, but I'm really not a long-term believer in most PFP projects, if at all any at this point. So like I'm actually actively trying to exit my positions in most PFPs.
No shit. Okay. That's bad news
yeah.
for me. That's like on my backs. But okay, what's some of your thinking behind that? Not that I necessarily disagree.
I just don't think that I think what ends up happening is, well, I can try again later today.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, you got two more. Zach, you want to fire up yours?
I'll come back to this.
Mine's pretty slow, but I'm trying my best here. Shit.
To answer why I feel that way, I think is I'm not fully convinced what like the end state is for all these hundreds of thousands of PFP projects. And I think there was like a lot of them made. And I think that there's like only a handful that will actually turn into something that has value. and it's hard to tell what they are.
Yeah. I feel like at times with PFPs, even the most reputable and knowledgeable people on the subject, it's still experimental, and we still don't know if that experiment's going to amount to anything. There's something here, but maybe the model is not necessarily correct.
Yeah, and one of my biggest problems with it is like this growth piece, which is it's inherently really hard to grow a PFP because part of the appeal of it is the restricted supply. But in order for it to have value as an avatar, people need to have it as well, right? So if I'm stuck with this like 10,000 project, how could I increase the number of people who are actually a part of this community without alienating this existing group of people who already spent a lot of money to get into it?
Yeah.
It's a challenge. I don't know the answer to it, but that's something that I've been thinking about a lot with crypto in general, is that the growth problem is very real. Like in VBA, for example, right now, like one growth problem that like I care a lot about is we have a fixed supply of NFTs. We haven't sold anything else. We're going to start soon in the second half of season 0, as we mentioned. But right now, for a new user to come in, somebody has to actively sell their assets. So we can only ever be flatlined.
Yeah.
And that's the same problem a lot of PFPs have as well. And this is why like nouns, I know like collab is very big on nouns, and people are really big on nouns. But like nouns and little nouns is cool because they have this like constant emissions curve and an auction system in which is like very like responsive to supply and demand, right? Where if like nobody bids on it, or like nobody clears it, it takes some time for you to get to the next one. I think like those types of mechanisms are really cool in terms of like experimenting with how you can increase the size of a community in a way that's predictable and fair to existing holders.
So earlier in this stream, we actually had Brandon Galang on, who I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you guys know Brandon?
I've known Brandon since about May of this year. We met at Permissionless.
Oh,
I
cool.
told him, I give him my most ferocious CC0 takes, and we've just been buddies ever since.
Got it. Yeah.
Dare I say friends?
Yeah.
One of the things oh yeah, 100%. One of the things he talked to me about with the VBA is how hard it will be to expand the community without diluting that initial value. Hearing you speak about it too is really interesting. Are there any points you'd like to add on in terms of what do you think the best way is to grow a community? Is it that auction mechanism?
That's something that we're exploring. I think for sure we need to find a way to sell more NFTs. And then I think actually one of the bigger tasks at hand for us is reframing the narrative around what these NFTs are, right? Like I think the traditional view of NFT is like, I buy this thing and I hold it and it accrues value over time, right? That's like the PFP mentality, right? It's not ROI capped. It's like an infinite cash printing machine, right? The problem with that is that there are no assets in life that are infinite cash printing machines. Like even if you buy like a house, right? Like you have to like invest in the house, or like you have to like, the house depreciates over time. You buy a machine, like the machine depreciates over time. Like you have a basketball team, your players will retire over time. You have to go buy new ones and buy them, right? And so I think reframing what an NFT is not like this permanent asset that holds value forever, but rather like an ROI capped asset that you can buy, have the full freedom of it being transferable, right? Like if you buy like 5 players and you want to stop playing, you still have the advantage of being able to sell those assets, which you wouldn't in a lot of other games. But like knowing that they're ROI capped, I think will help a lot with us being able to like continually sell things to the ecosystem while having players earn what the assets that they already have.
Ronan, do you have any points you'd like to add on to that?
No, that makes a ton of sense. I think that building an NFT community differs a lot from like a project like VBA where your NFTs actually have like an in-game utility, and then just like your more generic PFP collection where it's just like vibes or something, or like you're trying to build like a similar holder base and then offer whatever things down the line. But when you have immediate utility, I think, the building of that community is a much different approach.
Exactly. Like the way that we think about community is much different than like Azuki, for example, right? Like Azuki is very obviously like our community is our product. Everything is dedicated in spirit of like building the brand, right? And they were just very upfront saying that this is just a brand. There's no product experience that's coming along with it. And so everything they do is around like building hype around their socials and desirability for it. For us, it's like, we have an NFT. The NFT will be able to do something for you in games. And ideally when they buy it, they get the advantage of being able to like both have fun, maybe earn some money in the VBA. and then if they want to leave, they can sell it. And like that's sort of the approach that we're going for in terms of community building and growth.
It's cool because if VBA really takes off and gets like some serious adoption, right, you kind of have this long tail aspect where you kind of get that brand behind it too. So like
Exactly.
you establish community, and then boom, before you know it, VBA is a brand in itself. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, exactly. It's like it's very rare that you see a company start. Let's just talk about like Web2 companies, right? And just say like, we're going to become a brand. Even those Web2 brands are like, they're still backed by some sort of product experience that underlies it. So it's interesting to see in Web3 just like we're just a brand and there's a community.
So this might be Charles' hot take, Zach. Zach, we usually end the stream with like, what's your biggest hot take in crypto right now? But that's kind of sounding like a hot take because people like Web3 is like you build a community and the community is value. I'm not putting words in your mouth or anything, but curious to think through that more.
Oh, my hot take from earlier was I personally am not bullish on PFPs in general. So that is very in line with my hot take. I think there needs to be something of underlying value for the community more than it just saying that like we're gonna make this thing become valuable because it's like a brand with nothing under like supporting it.
I just want to highlight how like truly exceptional I think that sentence is. Even the biggest brands of today have a very strong product experience behind it.
Yes.
When I'm looking at these PFP communities, I'm not sure any of them will be able to stand without, you said, a strong product experience.
Yeah, like a product, like a real product behind it, right? Like even like what are like the biggest brands in like the world, like Hello Kitty, Hello. I think like people always say like, oh, like I'm trying to make this thing into Hello Kitty because Hello Kitty is like $100 billion brand over its lifetime. Mm-hmm. But it's like I feel like they've created a bunch of stuff around it that like people like they're selling like I don't even know actually. I don't know much about Hello Kitty actually, so maybe I take that back. But I think it's some sort of product experience that goes along with it that basically backs the value of this brand itself.
Yeah. All right. So I think we've seen a few projects kind of arise too with some of these more product experience, revenue generating modules. I see Proof with their podcast, along with some of the new research stuff. Yuga Labs is going for their metaverse. Pudgy Penguins is going for toys. We've seen almost every PFP tank, and the ones that are keeping their heads above the water, I'd say, are moving in this direction.
Yes.
How would you rank the product experiences from the PFP ecosystem right now? I'm asking for a hot take here, so if you don't want to, completely understand.
I want to caveat some of my comments from PFPs and that I'm also a holder in a lot of these things.
Okay, so all right, so you have authority.
I don't have authority, but I just want to say that I might be sounding like I'm like funding PFPs right now, but in a lot of these ones, I own like a handful of them as well. Okay. I'll just say no comment on that one, if that's okay.
Okay.
I can say no comment on that one. Right?
Probably wise, Charles.
Yeah. I don't want to be called out for these. I have the same handle everywhere, so I don't want to be called out for any.
Charles, I need you to get called out because I need to bring you back on the stream to defend the idea. That's the whole. I'm calling it the battle. Was it the arena of ideas?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this one thing, right? I don't know if you heard that Michael Jordan quote about like sneakers, and I don't want to compare myself to this actually, but there's that Michael Jordan
definitely compare yourself to Jordan.
There's that Michael Jordan quote where they like ask him about like why he doesn't take a stronger stance on certain political issues, and I think his quote is like famous for him saying like Republicans buy sneakers too, and that's good. I think at this stage in our life cycle as like a project is like we want to be very collaborative, like we want to support the Web3 community with everybody else, and so would prefer not to like throw shade or take sides in anything.
Yeah.
And if Michael Jordan said it, I guess it has some authority, I guess.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I feel like Tiger Woods did the same type of thing.
Say again, Zach?
So I feel like Tiger Woods did the same type of thing.
100%. Tiger took the most apolitical stance of all time, even when he got all that media attention.
Yeah.
Way to brush over it, Ronan.
It's true. It's true.
Charles, thank you so much for taking the time to come on here. Seriously. VBA is one of my all-time favorite games. I'm super now that Zeros is down in New York, I got to purchase my own team, so I'm really excited to get back into the action. I can no longer remote GM.
Well, thank you for having me, and yeah, good luck with the rest of your VBA seasons. And ping me if you ever want me to hop back on or ask any questions about the product.
Would love that. And before you go, for our viewers in the audience, is there anything they should be watching out for on the horizon with the VBA game?
We have a awesome all-star game planned coming up in the next couple of weeks. If you haven't seen that, there'll be some live streams. There'll be like a live draft. It'll be a great opportunity just to learn about the game from like a viewer and spectator perspective. And I think following up that, we'll be going into the second half of season 0. We'll be announcing some new exciting things that are coming in the next couple of weeks. And so just stay on the lookout for these announcements. It's not too late. Everybody is very early still.
Perfect. And for the viewers watching at home, it's VBA the game on Twitter.
Yes, just at VBA game on Twitter, and then our website is vbagame.com.
Okay, Charles, thank you very much.
Zach, thank you,
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, Zach, thanks for hopping on.
Girls.
Bye.
These guys.
You guys.
Where am I? Oh, do
Hey,
I?
Zach.